Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad and on Vero at Movies TV Mad. And welcome to Saturday's edition of the DCEU Daily. What happens if the Batman is successful? What does that mean for the future of DC live action? There are so many scenarios here. It's very, very exciting. Having seen the Batman myself, I can tell you I can't see this film not making a lot of money. But I've said things before about other films in the past that haven't been as successful. So we have to be very, very careful here. So there's many scenarios here. We could have a scenario where Walter Hamada's multiverse strategy and the Batman's Earth 2 are both successful. Now we know that Matt and his people don't want anything to do with the multiverse strategy. They just want to work in Earth 2. That's understandable. That's great. That's fantastic. If that happens, that's brilliant. That's what I want. As a real DC fan, as a genuine DC fan, I don't want to destabilize things. I want DC to be the most popular live action franchise. There's of course another scenario where the multiverse strategy doesn't work out, where the Flash movie isn't kind of looked at as a good movie, and if the Flash movie, as we've discussed so many times before, isn't successful, the multiverse strategy falls down. But of course, the multiverse strategy has already started with James Gunn's Peacemaker. We've already had a couple of Easter eggs, which is really, really exciting. There's a newspaper article about Karduk, where Black Adam is from. So they're starting these little Easter eggs and these connective tissues. So this is great. So this means that Walter Hamada actually gets it, and you're going to get Easter eggs in all of these 6 projects this year. 6 projects meaning Peacemaker, Black Adam, the Flash movie, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, and of course we've got the Batgirl movie coming on HBO Max. What this means is there could be a scenario, of course, where the multiverse strategy doesn't work, but the Batman Earth 2 strategy does work. So I know some people think if the multiverse strategy fails, then they restore the Snyderverse, but most probably I'm looking at a scenario where the multiverse strategy doesn't work, but you know, WB and let's not forget Discovery, who are going to be buying Warner Media very soon, could say to Matt Reeves, right, this is your Earth. We want to work everything within your Earth. We want you to run the whole of the DC live action universe and set it all in Earth 2. I mean, maybe that would be a good scenario anyway, to have someone as genius as Matt Reeves running this thing, because Matt Reeves is definitely looking beyond Batman in Earth 2. He's gonna, look, this is not Christopher Nolan. You know, Matt Reeves isn't comparable to Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan just wanted to do 3 Batman films and get out. It was a happy accident that he was involved in Man of Steel, along with David Goyer. But what this guy Reeves is doing, he's planning 3 Batman movies, but also he's already got 2 spin-off projects coming on HBO Max. So he's already building a universe. As I say, Matt Reeves is more J.J. Abrams than Christopher Nolan. Matt Reeves has got his fingers in a lot of pies. He's got his own production company. He's of course worked with J.J. Abrams before, who is now also involved with the DCEU, doing Justice League Dark projects and Constantine projects. This is all very, very exciting. So I don't see the multiverse strategy failing as kind of a reason for restoring the Snyderverse. I don't think that's how Warner Brothers will look at this. But I'm very, very fortunate. I kind of have seen what they're doing on these productions of the Flash movie, of Black Adam, etc., etc. Peacemaker has been very, very, very successful thus far. I expect the Batman and the multiverse strategy to align together and be both as successful as each other. I suppose you could. I suppose if I was a gambling man, I'd say the Batman will be slightly more successful than the Flash movie. I think the Flash movie is definitely looking at 600 to 800 million. But the better the film is, and the more the audience resonate with that Flash movie, the more successful the multiverse strategy is going to be. So I think that's what we're looking at. But what does the success of the Batman movie look like, if it is indeed successful? Because we don't want to say it's going to be ultra successful yet. They haven't really given us any predictions for what the box office is going to be, but I would expect a huge opening weekend and a total global box office. Having seen the movie myself, I just can't see how this movie can fail. Batman is the #1 comic book costume character. There's no question about that, and that's both within Marvel Comics and DC Comics. And it's interesting with the Batman because you've got a group of people called Batman stans who basically are everywhere on, you know, DC Twitter and Instagram and everywhere. And you've also got, you know, Robert Pattinson stans from kind of his early days of doing kind of the Twilight franchise as well. So there's a lot of people supporting the Batman franchise and Matt Reeves. There's Matt Reeves stans as well. And we've spoken about the Snyder fans before and how loud they are and how big they are on social media. I think these fans are bigger. This group, this movement for the Batman is huger than the Snyderverse community, and I think they're silencing them in a lot of ways. And very shortly I'm going to talk about a new rumour that suggests, because of this Flash prequel comic, that the Flash prequel comic kind of marketing and announcement tried to say that Justice League will be canon in this prequel comic and indeed in the Flash movie. I'm going to explain that for you very, very shortly. But I do expect the Batman to be really, really successful. Watching the Batman film, one of my first kind of reactions to it was, this guy not just gets Batman and his world, but he knows how to flesh out his own Earth. And it's interesting. There's things in this film I cannot speak about at all. I'm not even going to hint, but this is a film that not only sets up Batman's brand new Earth and universe and really makes Gotham City feel like a city suffering with corruption and crime, that it would be dangerous to walk outside your front door. Let me quote Jack Napier, played by Jack Nicholson, in Batman 89. "Decent people shouldn't live here. They should live somewhere else. They would be a lot happier." That's the feeling you get from Matt Reeves' Gotham City. So he is planning on not just creating a Batman universe and a Batman Earth. He's looking to create an entire DC universe and Earth. And I think this is the plan. And I think as soon as I saw that he was doing HBO Max projects, because I think this is interesting as well, because the talks with Matt Reeves began in 2017. This is when Jeff Johns and Kevin Sugihara were running things. Very, very interesting that it was Jeff Johns' idea to go to Matt Reeves. This was really 2017 was the time they were moving away from Snyder. And it's interesting to me that they wanted to remove one auteur and bring in another. So why Matt Reeves instead of Zack Snyder? Well, Matt Reeves is an auteur. It is his way or the highway, but let's just say his attitude is, look, this is your IP, but if you don't let me do it my way, I'm going to walk, which is what he initially done. Then Walter Hamada got involved and they sat down and they discussed what was going to happen, and Matt was very happy to have his own Earth. So I think Matt is a very, very different creature to Christopher Nolan and especially to Zack Snyder. Although it's my way or the highway, he's more than happy to sit down and speak to the studios. I think it's interesting, with all the hate for Jeff Johns, it was actually Jeff Johns who first approached Matt Reeves. The talks with Matt and Jeff broke down because Jeff Johns was insisting that Ben Affleck would be Batman in Matt Reeves' The Batman. So that's very interesting when people say it was Jeff Johns' fault that Ben Affleck's alcoholism returned and he put pressure on Ben. They were working on Ben's Batman movie together. There's many reasons why that didn't work out. Mainly, and Ben's been very honest about this, he didn't enjoy what happened on Justice League. Everyone concedes, including Jeff Johns and everyone who removed Zack Snyder and wanted to do Justice League, that was a mistake. So, I expect Matt Reeves, the Batman, to be extremely successful, and I expect the multiverse strategy to be extremely successful as well. But unfortunately, there's people out there who don't want that success and who will create rumour and innuendo. So the other day, we got really exciting news, if you're a true, genuine DC fan, that, you know, people at DC Comics and Andy Muschietti himself, the director of The Flash, are working on a Flash movie prequel comic. Very exciting. But a small element of the Snyderverse, restored Snyderverse fandom, decided to poison that exciting moment for DC fans, genuine DC fans, like they always do. So yesterday they underlined a section from the announcement where it says it can, you know, the prequel comic in the movie continues from the 2017 movie. Meaning, of course, that this would mean that Justice League is canon rather than the Snyder Cut. So I'm going to explain it all to you because it's time for the innocent, genuine DC fans not to listen to these people. So I'm going to tell you the truth. And I got into it with a couple of them yesterday as well, where they were telling me, do you know something we don't? Well, I talk to people who know, people who have genuine inside information. So we're going to talk about this. So, what is going to happen in the Flash prequel comic and in the movie is that Justice League and the Snyder Cut will both be canon in the movie and in the prequel comic. How? Well, I'll explain to you. Excuse me, my throat is dying here. Someone's just sprayed some very lethal deodorant and it's really getting to my throat. But this is not working out, is it? Anyway, so how can Justice League and Zack Snyder's Justice League both be canon in the Flash prequel comic and the Flash movie? Well, what they're going to do is take elements of Justice League and elements of the Snyder Cut. We already know that Zack Snyder's Justice League, the people who did kind of the VFX for that film, are working on the Flash movie. So, for example, they can use as canon from Justice League the race that Barry Allen's The Flash and Henry Cavill's Superman had in that movie. That would be fun. They could refer to that. But I know for a fact also that when Ben Affleck's Batman and Ezra Miller's Barry Allen The Flash are talking about Barry's loss of his mother and his father being in jail wrongly for the murder of his mother, it's Batman who says to him, you need to do something, Barry, because Ben's Batman reminds him in the movie, and this is a fact, that he almost or just about travelled the speed of light in the Snyder Cut. Now, it doesn't say the Snyder Cut, but you get what I mean, because that's the film that it happened in, and that he should do it again. This proves that the Snyder Cut and Justice League will both be canon in the Flash prequel comic and in the movie. So that's what I can assure you of, that both these movies, different elements of these movies, will both be canon. But this is why it's all irrelevant what's canon and what's not canon, because WB and Walter Hamada know one thing for sure, that the Justice League situation is an utter mess canonically. And so what's going to happen at the end of the movie when Flashpoint is kind of fixed, neither Zack Snyder's Justice League or Justice League will be canon. In fact, nothing will be canon. I'm still saying that the only film canonically that will be standing after the Flash movie will be Man of Steel. That's my hunch and that's my opinion. So I wouldn't worry too much about what's going to be canon in the Flash prequel comic or in the Flash movie. I believe that both movies will have elements of what happened to them in those movies used in the movie and the prequel comic. But by the time we get out of Flashpoint, basically Man of Steel will be the only movie that will be canon. Now, to me, I think this is a good idea. Man of Steel pretty much is a very popular film. It works a lot more than, let's say, to the mainstream audience than Batman vs Superman does. Of course, it's sad that all of these movies are not really going to be canon, but we've also been told that none of these movies are going to be forgotten. We've been told it's kind of like we're starting again, which is interesting. I think we're starting again from Man of Steel onwards. So that'll be very interesting. I think they're going to make certain changes to what happened in the original Man of Steel. We know they're using Michael Shannon Zod, and we know they're using Fiora in the Flash movie as well. So it'll be very interesting at the end of the Flash movie what's canon and what's not. But I want to know what you think. Do you think the Batman will be successful, as I do? How do you think the multiverse strategy will work going forward? Comment down below. Like, share and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you never miss this perfection. And I'll see you again in the next video. Until then, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.